head of marketing at Backyard 80s. We are going to talk about the home that we're in. We're going to take questions. And we're also going to talk a little bit about how we designed this house, how we worked with the homeowner, and how we got here today. So we're going to start with a virtual tour. If you have questions, please feel free to ask them. Alexis is keeping an eye on the chat. If you are watching on Facebook, just kidding, nobody is watching on Facebook because I had to turn my computer off because it was making the phone lag. So if you're on Facebook, you should have registered for the event, and we'll share a recording with you after. But if you're in the webinar, throw questions in the chat. Alexis is going to be finding opportune times to interrupt me and stop the tour. But we did get some great feedback on the last one of these that it would be helpful to do the tour, show off the house, and then take questions just so we can kind of get through here. And for the people that only have 10, 15 minutes to see this beautiful house, they can, and then they can leave. And then we can do a detailed Q&A with whomever is left to talk about the design process. So what I think we're gonna do is try to go outside because it's not pitch dark yet because we're on the tail end of winter. And I'm gonna change this so you can not have to look at my face. We're gonna go take a look at the outside. All right. All right, yes, we can definitely still see. This is great. So here we are outside. I am walking backwards towards the driveway, and there it is. This is an 850 square foot backyard home. And it was a home that we designed using our L-line design path, which basically just means that we started with an L shape and we made it work for this backyard by positioning windows and talking to the homeowner about who's going to be living here and what they needed. And of course, just making sure that it fit in this backyard. There was the existing barn, which we actually helped renovate as part of this project, which is going to end up being overflow space. It's going to be karaoke space back there. And we made sure that it kind of fit the flow nicely. And I'll kind of just rotate around here so you can see our surroundings. That being the main house, straight out past the cars is Main Street in Florence. And it's a really neat backyard. It's going to look a lot better back here when spring comes. Because this is a winter project, we couldn't do any landscaping. We are going to be putting in a really neat Goshen stone patio that fits into the nook outside of these windows and under the front door, and also some wraparound Goshen as like embankment walls, which is going to look really neat. And another thing, one thing that we did with this, so we created a space here to go between these buildings, and because this yard is big enough, this house has its own private backyard. And if anyone has heard us talk about design, especially when it comes to site planning for a backyard home, one of the key things for flexibility of use is making sure that you don't, like, backyard spaces stay private, because if this ever ends up being a rental, the renters want private space and so does the homeowner. And again, it doesn't look great right now. We're standing behind the mill that houses Artifact Cider. And we are some tree work. We had to take that tree out there, which was a hazard because it was leaning and it's cracked. It was going to fall in the barn. And it was also possibly going to take out those power lines. So the power company actually came and took that out. And it also made enough room for light so we can plant some nicer evergreens along this fence and properly make this a cozy backyard space. But anyway, let's walk right around. So I'm coming back around the house. You can kind of get a sneak peek in there, the windows. A lot of people ask about the siding. We've got vinyl siding on here. Oh my gosh, vinyl siding. But I think if you're looking at the video right now, you probably think it looks pretty good, and you're right, it does look pretty good. And one of the reasons for that is how we choose our trim. You hear that's not vinyl. That's a hard PVC board. And we can basically blend different siding products to maximize how much it costs and trick the eye to going towards these hard lines on the corners and the trim around the windows. So if you have questions about siding, we can definitely talk more about that. It's a hot topic when we're trying to figure out vinyl, LP smartboard, hardy board, wood. There's so many options. All right, we're going inside. It's cold out here. Okay.
Chris, we have a few questions about the outside. Do you want to address those now?
Outside.
Or would you like to
I'll go back outside.
Okay.
Yeah, let's shoot some questions.
So we have one question. Can you orient us as far as where north and south are? Curious why the patio is not in the backyard.
Good question. So that's south. And in spirit of it being south, that's why we have all those windows on that side, is because we're getting lots of really good winter sun in there. And that's also why the patio's there, is so it will extend the season. And if the homeowner wanted to add a second patio or screen porch, we could do that in that backyard. But in this case, this is not going to be a rental. This is going to be for family. So by putting the patio at the front, we're blending the sitting areas. So someone could be sitting up on the main deck and sitting out on the patio and be quasi together, but separate.
Another question is, what is the siding on the barn?
The siding on the barn is real cedar. So it's cedar clapboards with a stain on it, a clear stain. And that does look fantastic. And it's a metal roof.
And then the final question is on a pad. I think they're referring to the house.
Yep. So it is not on a pad. That's actually a great question for out here. You can see that green along the outside. Maybe we can see it better. Yeah, we can see it better if we go this way. That is a crawl space foundation, and the green is the edge of our insulated concrete forms, which is it's a system that we use to basically do insulated basements all at once and not have to bring in forms. And they're really neat. And again, it's going to be a spring project for this. But we're going to come back and you basically it's almost like a stucco that you put on that. So it protects it and makes it look like a real foundation. It is a real foundation, but it makes it look like cement. Okay.
We have one more question. Is a metal roof an option for the ADU?
It sure is. And metal is a pretty expensive upgrade for roofing, at least over asphalt, but it's definitely something that can be done. And I'll get back to the basement question in a little bit. So let's keep moving through the tour. And I just came in the front door. That right there is the famous coat closet. You got to have a coat and shoe closet really close when you come in a small house, because you've got to put stuff right away and get it out of the way. But let's do a little pan. So I'm doing a pan here of the combined kitchen and living room space. And as you can see, right now I'm standing by the front door. You come in the front door and you can see out that way towards the bedrooms and the bathroom. You can see this nice big kitchen. You can see the living room. And of course, you can see this little mudroom and closet area. And in this situation, we have this half wall instead of a full wall. That was a way to just keep this straight and airy, let light go through that window all the way across. And it's also kind of nice because you can put keys down here, you can put mail down here. It's probably going to be a pretty functional half wall for the homeowner.
Chris, we have a question about the square footage of the home.
Good question. So this is an 850 square foot, 2-bedroom and 2-bath home. So it's a huge, tiny home. And this does fit in Northampton as a backyard home. And it does fit often in a lot of towns. A lot of towns cap their backyard homes at 800 or 900 square foot. And then often there is a proportional rule where it has to be in proportion to the main house, but not in Northampton. Northampton, it just has a fixed max, which is another great thing about doing these in Northampton. So let's talk a little bit about this kitchen. So we, as you can see, this is a pretty big kitchen for a small house. It's full-size appliances in here. It's a full-size kitchen sink. There's a lazy Susan in there. There's lots of drawers. These cabinets, they've got pull-out trays. And I don't know, everyone knows what a lazy Susan looks like, but they're pretty neat. These are so great for storing pots and pans and bowls. And the kitchens are great. I mean, depending on what you do, you may need a kitchen this big, you may not need a kitchen this big. Some people like to go with mini appliances. If you go with a 24-inch stove and a 24-inch fridge and an 18-inch dishwasher, you've just saved 18 inches of space, which is a lot of space in a small house. And you can allocate that to more living room, to a dining area, whatever makes sense given how you're going to use it. In this kitchen, you'll notice, if anyone watched the video for the East Hampton home, that was 525 square feet, this home does not have an island. And that was a conscious decision because there's going to be a kitchen table that gets sit right underneath that ceiling fan. That might get used as extra prep space. It's definitely going to be eaten at, but that's why that's not there. Another reason we don't have a fixed island in here is because if you want to add that extra prep space, doing it with something on wheels is very helpful, because on wheels you have more flexibility in the space, and there's a lot of really nice islands on wheels. So I just spun around, and now we are looking out at the Lexus.
So we have a couple questions. One of which is what is the floor?
The floor. This is luxury vinyl plank, and this is from Shaw. It's Shaw Endura Plus, and this specific floor is called Rainforest Acai. And this is just a luxury vinyl plank has come so far. I mean, all vinyl products, all of these products have come just an incredibly long way in the last 5 years. But it's a very, very affordable way to get a very nice floor. And over a typical laminate, a carpet, or vinyl tiles, this stuff's going to last forever. It's going to last forever. It's waterproof, and it's about half the price of a true wood floor. And there's a lot of different variations in the designs and patterns that you can get.
Another question we have is, what is the heating unit on the wall?
So that is a mini split head. This is heated and cooled with a Fujitsu heat pump system. And in this specific house, there are 3 heads which create 3 separate zones. So each bedroom can have a different temperature, and then the kitchen and living room can have a different temperature. And I'll talk about that more at the end when we're talking about some of the specs and planning. And I'll show you the projected HERS ratings, which show you how much it costs to heat this place, which as a sneak peek is projected to be less than $400 per year for heating and cooling. Just incredible. So moving through, so this is the living room area, and it's a living room area. It's really hard to visualize without furniture. We are going to be showing some photos of a layout like this with furniture, but there's a couple different ways that you can finagle a living room in here. One is a full-size couch can go underneath that half wall and extend out a few feet. So a full-size couch is either 7 foot or 9 foot. So it can go out that way. And then potentially an armchair could also go in there. So you can get a solid 4 seats. Or you could put a kitchen table that goes this direction, kind of where the camera is going, with its orientation at that wall. And we've got 2 different spots here where a TV could go. One could be under the mini split head. We have an outlet for it. And the other, the window and the door. And again, we've got an outlet and there's a cable jack there as well. And this is one area where, depending what you're trying to do, can be customized to kind of fit your needs. Some people don't care for that extra window and just want a bigger entertainment center. And that's totally fine. In this case, you can't see it anymore, but there's kind of a neat view out that window. It's got like a forest view, again, in downtown Florence, and it's quite neat. Another thing I'll note about the design of this, this might drive some people crazy, but this kitchen sink is missing a window. And there's a reason for that. I mean, it's a decision, but one, great to get extra cabinet space in a small house. And the second one is this house is designed for the flexibility to easily add a screen porch off that back door. And the screen porch can go all the way against that blank wall and travel pretty far down. It can be a 15 to 20 foot long screen porch that would allow you to have outdoor cooking space. And again, another patio to complement the one that you would see directly out this giant window, which again is southern facing, lets lots of light into the kitchen, and really combines that outdoor space that's going to be a beautiful patio sitting area with the indoor space. Okay, let's keep moving through. So everybody knows in small homes, hallways are evil because they are just walking space, and that's just wasted space. But in this space, and specifically with our L-line design path, it allows us to get a whole lot of bang out of the hallways. So this hallway is access to a bedroom, a bathroom, a bedroom. It gives you direct access to a huge overflow pantry from the kitchen. So if you like to cook, if you're going to store stuff, this is going to give you just an enormous amount of extra space for whatever you might need to put in there. It's also giving you access to, it's also giving you space to get to the washer and dryer. So a nice big cabinet for the washer and dryer. And again, this is another space that can be customized depending on what you want to do with appliances. They do make really small washers and dryers. They make counter depth washers and dryers, but they tend to be pretty expensive, about $1,000 or more than a standard stackable. And again, it's like a space decision. Where do you want to allocate space for various things that you're going to be doing? So moving in, so here is one of the 2 bedrooms. So this bedroom is about 12.5 feet in that direction and 10 feet in that direction. So it's a nice big bathroom. And there's windows on all three sides of it, which gives it eastern light, southern light, and western light. So somebody could be in here at any time of the day and have great lighting. As I mentioned, I don't know if I've mentioned, but this house is designed to be lived in by two people independently as roommates. And to do that, each bedroom has their own bathroom. So this house has two small bathrooms with corner showers, because corner showers don't take up a lot of room. And we've got a window in the bathroom. And one thing that we did do that was intentional in this bathroom, if you see, we have a corner shower and we have this gap right here. Well, we could have done a corner shower or we could have done a 48-inch shower, but we made the decision to go with a corner shower so we can leave this space, if anyone can guess, for hanging towels, which would have been a little bit more difficult if we didn't have that. And then an opportunity to hang a cabinet over on that wall for additional storage if needed. Another thing we did when we were doing this bedroom is create one 4-foot closet and one 4-foot section for a desk, a window seat, a built-in, because again, this is for two people to live in together but independently. And having a workspace it really makes that more possible. And again, and this isn't a small closet either. There's room in here to hang clothes. There's opportunities to get creative with how you would do a closet system depending on what you're storing or how many people are using it. And in this room, there's also space you could put a dresser on this wall, and there's a cable jack down there. So you could have a separate, most are watching TV on Wi-Fi anyway. So the cable jacks are just kind of a security piece. That wall under the mini split head is big enough for a queen bed with space on either side of it for nightstands. And kind of spinning around, leaving over 2 to 3 feet on the end of it to walk by, depending on how big the bed frame is. All right, so I'm going to walk back out of here. Again, I'm going through this super functional hallway with all of the different activities that can be done. There's so much space for activities in here. So this is the second bathroom.
Chris.
This bathroom, yep.
As you go into this bathroom, it's a perfect time to answer a question. Can you use a shower curtain with a corner bathroom? With a corner
what a great
shower.
Question. Yes, you can, and there are specific curtain rods for corner showers. So the shower in the other bathroom is getting a glass door, special request by the person who's going to be living in there. They wanted a shower door and it had to be glass. So that will be getting installed next week. But you can do a curtain. So this bathroom is an interesting bathroom. It's for the other room, but it's also the bathroom that guests would use that come over here. Now you can see there are grab bars on this wall. And when we were working on this space, we were working with the homeowner. We were torn between doing a full ADA wheelchair accessible bathroom versus like a quasi-accessible bathroom. And as people, if anyone has ever tried to design for a full ADA bathroom, it has to be very, very large, significantly bigger than this, and we were very tight on space. So what we've done here is create the opportunity for somebody in a wheelchair to essentially reverse into here. There is space in here to reverse, pull up in front of the toilet and use the grab bars to transfer, and then wheel back out. So someone in a wheelchair could theoretically use this bathroom independently. We know it's not perfect, but we were trying to figure out how to do this so it could be visitable by somebody in a wheelchair without doing the full 5-foot turn radius in and around that toilet. So moving on to the other bedroom. So this bedroom is a little bit smaller than the other one, but again, it's got space for a queen size bed against that wall. And this bedroom could also fit a queen size bed against that wall if it was tucked up against the wall. So kind of giving flexibility to who's going to be in here, whether or not they want to put a bed on that wall and have space on either side, or if they want to save space in the room and tuck something against that wall over there and leave space under that window. Often with 2-bedroom homes, a homeowner, whoever's going to be living in it, is not thinking about having a bed in it full time. They may do a Murphy bed, they may do a single bed, space for a blow up mattress. It's more of a hobby room. And again, with this space, that's in mind as well. This wall is a great space to put a big old desk, a treadmill, whatever it might be. But again, in this, we built this so 2 people could live in here together, but independently. And this as well has the split closet space and a space for a desk. So someone could be in here and be doing more than just sleeping. And I can't see it, but this window's got a great view out into a downtown forest, which I promise is there. And I guess to the basement question, this is on a crawl space. And this is how you get to the crawl space. You can't see anything down there, but it's a fully insulated crawl space with those insulated concrete forms. And doing a crawl space versus a pad just makes planning for utilities easier. And when we're using modular as our offsite construction technique, a pad is a redundant floor system. And as anyone who is very environmentally focused on the call knows, concrete is extremely energy intensive to create. So the more that we can take concrete out of the building process, the better. All right. So that is the tour of this little house. I am going to sign back in on my computer. And while I'm doing that, if anyone has any questions, please fire them at me. The next thing that we're going to do is look a little bit at how we went about planning this. We're going to talk about, I'm going to show some of the 3D renders that we did to show you what it looked like before we pulled the trigger and, as I say, printed the home. We're not really printing the home, but it kind of feels like it. Show you the HERS ratings, but Alexis, question?
Yes, we have some questions.
Okay. All right.
If you can address average cost to build per square foot, that would be helpful.
Absolutely, great question. So, so this is a sticking point that I have. The average cost per square foot, it's a really tough number because when somebody quotes you their per square foot number, you have to ask what's included. Is the driveway included? Is the foundation included? Is the electrical hookups included? And we've had people come to us with quotes from builders saying that they could build a house for someone said $125 per square foot I don't think there's been a house built for $125 per square foot since about 2005. So it's a dangerous number. Now, specifically to small homes, it's not a great number to look at, because with a small home, when you're at 500 square feet, and you're trying to shoot for 135,000 or 150,000, anything under 200,000, the per square foot number can jump drastically. If, say, you need to go from a 200 amp service to a 400 amp service and you add $5,000 to your budget, $5,000 can add $10 per square foot very quickly. So when we're talking about our price per square foot, we're anywhere from $200 to $300 per square foot, which is completely useless information, obviously, because that's really far apart. So what we do is give estimates on pre-designed floor plans, which will get you within 10% of what you're going to be building in most cases, rather than trying to extrapolate from a per square foot number. I believe this house came in at, this is probably mid 200s per square foot with the finishes that you see. But again, when thinking about per square foot prices, it's very important to know what's being included, site work, utilities, all of that kind of stuff.
We have another question. How long and wide is it?
Good question. Let me answer that by showing the floor plans. Let me try to get back into the meeting.
All right. Perfect.
Okay, we're not going to join audio in there. Continue. Okay, show everyone. Oh, who's the host? I'm the host. Alexis, are you able to enable screen sharing for everybody?
I don't think so. I believe you on your phone are the host. When you signed off on the computer, it said Christopher Lee was made the host.
Okay, share screen. I think that. Okay. There we go. All right, share my desktop. Okay, so we'll go right back to that question. How big is this house? So you're looking at it. So this is talking about our design process. You're looking at kind of, this is just the design of the space. It's not an engineered drawing. It's not an architect drawing. It is a home design drawing. And really the difference is thought about, this is, when we're doing this kind of layout, we're thinking very much about flow. We're thinking about space between sinks and a table. Can you fit the furniture you want to fit? We're thinking less about the engineering pieces, which is a step later in the process. But size-wise, so I don't know how well people can read the screen. This is just shy of 40 feet long. The width of the arms is about 15 and a half feet. And then this back leg is, can't see that dimension, but this is about 30 feet. So this is a pretty big house. And I said earlier, this is one of the bigger houses we've done. We have another version of this that we just finished in Brunswick that is a bit smaller. It's 790 square feet, and it's 39 feet long, and then this is 27 feet. So it's a little bit tighter, and a little bit less expensive as well, because it's just a bit smaller. So
Chris,
looking at that, you can kind of say, ooh, yep.
We have a couple questions.
Okay.
Are the walls 2x4s or 2x6?
Great question. So you can kind of see here, these interior walls are 2x4s. So you can see they're a little bit thinner than these outside walls. Our outside walls are 2x6s. And I would imagine that question might also be kind of asking, what's the insulation in this house? So those walls being a little bit thicker, they're about 9 inches. It's a 2x6 wall. And we've done a lot of work trying to figure out what the most cost-effective way is to air seal and insulate one of these little houses. And what we landed on after doing projections and whatnot was fiberglass bats in the 2x6 wall cavities, which is with the bats we use is R21. And then we go around the entire outside with 1.5 inches of poly ISO, which gets our wall system to R30, not including the foil face, which helps a little bit with the reflection. And we've looked at double studded walls. We've looked at different things, and this is by far the best bang for your buck. I think while we're talking about that, I will show you exactly why I say that. So this is an independent HERS rating. We use Powerhouse Energy Consulting, which is a local energy consulting company that goes in and makes sure that new houses are up to snuff when it comes to energy usage. And kind of reading through this, you can kind of see this projection: annual energy costs, electric. There's only electric in here. There's no gas. There's no fossil fuels. $1,000 bucks. But the thing about that is heating and cooling. I still find this hard to believe, to be quite honest, but we're currently tracking a few of these houses to verify this, and we are on par with these numbers. It's $350 to heat and cool this house. So when we're thinking about the insulation strategy, there's not a lot left there to reduce. And we could probably talk about that all night about passive versus this and why one's better and one's not. But our goal is to create a very comfortable, energy efficient house that is helping move our climate plans forward, that somebody can actually afford. And that's what we're trying to do. This is a net zero ready house. The thing that kills us and everyone else in small homes is lights and appliances. Appliances are only so efficient, and it's very expensive to get even more efficient. And then water heating is a tough one as well.
Chris, we have 2 questions about the heating and cooling. One is why not central air? And the other is asking if you can explain the mini split system. Is there 1 compressor and 3 outlets?
Yep, good question. So 2 questions. Central air. We can do central air. We can do a ducted mini split system. A couple of the houses that we have done in Maine are flex duct mini split systems, and it's great. It's a little bit more expensive than just doing the heads. It costs probably 20 to 30% more because it's more labor intensive. But it's awesome. The downside to the ducted system versus the heads is every mini split head gives you a separate heating and cooling zone. Whereas if you're doing a simple ducted central air system, and again, a simple ducted air system, you're getting 1 zone in the house. So the bedrooms are the same temperature, the living room is the same temperature, which would have been a little bit more difficult in this. But that said, you can blend. So one of the houses that we just did in Maine has a ducted system on the first floor, and on the loft second half floor is a mini split head. That way we can have a separate zone upstairs where it's going to have bigger temperature fluctuations because it's on the second floor, and the ducted on the first. Now, to answer the second question, this has 1 compressor. I believe we've been typically doing a 24,000 BTU system, which ensures that there is going to be enough heat even on the coldest days. So 1 compressor is running the 3 heads, and it has enough energy output even on the coldest days of the year to keep this thing warm.
Another question is, can you please discuss the modular construction and net zero?
Yep. Yes. So it's really interesting. So we started building in Western Mass, and we're building in Maine, and I don't know if there was any wondering how we can be net zero with modular in that question, but it's certainly something that we get all the time. Like, how can you do quality with modular? I think it's, at least when I think this through, because I'm relatively new to construction, I come from a small scale development background. And to me, it seems more difficult to get high quality when you're in the field, trying to build from the ground up in the elements, and you're trying to maintain a local team. Modular produces a very nice, tight home, and it's produced in a factory environment where there's an enormous amount of quality control for things like that. And we can layer in on-site quality control by our powerhouse energy consultants, who's going to be doing a blower door test to make sure we're hitting our air tightness. And we do take a very close look at that. But modular is helping us hit some of those numbers, and it's helping us do it more affordably and more efficiently. And the net zero is basically a term that says if you add solar to it, you are producing as much energy as you can. So in the case of this house, if we're looking at our total, heating and cooling use, we would need so this house would need a 6.7 megawatt system, which is a decent sized solar system, but that would fit on the roof of this. And that would allow us to be net zero ready and get to net zero. And if people are keeping up with solar, the efficiency of panels is just it's incredible. If anyone's following it, panels used to be 300 watt panels. They're 400 watt panels now. So what we're doing in the same size, we're producing 30% more energy. It's just incredible. So we're all of that stuff is getting cheaper and cheaper and more approachable to anyone that wants to do it.
All right, Chris, we have quite a few more questions. They're all kind of scattered on topics. Is there anything you want to hit on first before we dive into these?
No, I guess let's just keep. Let's go through some more questions.
All right. We have two questions about the cabinets. Do we manufacture the cabinets? And if not, who are they made by?
So we use the cabinets are Marillac Classic, and I don't know if it says it in there, but they're Marillac Classic cabinets, and we've got a pretty good set of choices with these cabinets in terms of colors and door selections, and whether or not you want, I showed earlier, whether or not you want pull-out trays or drawers or spice drawers, pretty much anything that you can think of that comes in a cabinet, we can do. And the key with the cabinetry from our factory partner PBS and these Marillac Classics, you can't. It's a really good mid-grade cabinet, and the price is incredible. In this kitchen installed comes in at, I think it's less than $10,000 as part of this. Whereas if you were to try to bring this to a local cabinet shop, you probably wouldn't be able to touch it for less than 20. But that said, we absolutely can partner with local cabinetry companies, local artisans, and have a total custom kitchen get put in this, built by the Amish or built by Shakers or whatever would be needed. And the same goes for built-ins or anything like that. We love partnering with anyone local to add that kind of flair.
A question about the flooring. Is it a sheet or is it click?
Good question. I will show you a piece of it, because we have a piece right here in this closet. Sorry, that's kind of probably an awkward camera. So vinyl plank. So it's a plank. It's got a little bit of padding on the bottom, which helps with the walk feel, but it clicks together. It's not a sheet. A sheet would be, what do they call this sheet products? It's not laminate, but it's, I'm blanking on the term. But it is planks that clip together like an engineered hardwood product. Ooh, that looks bad. Okay.
What is the height of the crawl space?
So the crawl space in this is 4 feet. It's 4 feet tall.
What is the attic / roof space insulation situation for this house?
So we've got a 7/12 roof pitch, and I'd go up there and show you, but I don't have a ladder. But I guess I'll show you the entrance to the attic. So let's walk back in. Put the light on. So that's our attic access. Up there, you've probably got about 5 or 6 feet between the peak of the rafters and the ceiling joists. But it's not usable space unless we change how we insulate. We have R60 worth of blown-in cellulose up there, and that goes. Don't quote me on these inches, but it's probably 7 inches at least above the ceiling joist. And to make storage up there, we'd actually have to create a separate floor system, or we'd have to use a more expensive insulation product in order to achieve enough R value to hit these insulation specs. We'd have to use spray foam, or we'd have to use Roxol, which are all much more expensive than blown-in cellulose.
Another question. Where is the water heater?
The water heater is in the crawl space. It is sitting down there. It's a short 36-gallon water heater down there.
Have you used SIPs?
I assume sit panels. Can whoever made that comment just shake yes or no? Is that as in panelized construction, the insulated panels? I'm going to assume so. We have not. We have evaluated doing panelized construction projects because we love offsite techniques. Right now, we've done a lot of modular because it is very efficient. But there are situations where using a sit panel, or one of the companies that we really like that's doing a panelized build product is Unity Homes out of northern New Hampshire. I don't think you would call them a sit panel, but they're doing some really neat stuff with panelized.
Let's see. We've got a couple more questions.
Oh, and one other cool panelized thing. Sorry.
Oh, no worries.
A company called Build with Nature, and let me see if I can bring them up, because this is the cool. I said Unity, but this is the coolest panelized solution out there. They're a company. Peter Jensen moved over. I think he's from. Where's he from? He's from the Netherlands or Denmark or somewhere right in that zone. But my internet's not working with all of the load on this. Anyway, Build with Nature. They talked at Green Drinks, which is a local meeting. It used to actually involve getting together and having a beer and then listening to someone talk about really neat, environmentally friendly stuff that they were doing. And Peter talked at Build with Nature, and he brought over a straw bale panelized solution. Literally, there it is right there. Look at that. This is a panelized wall section, and inside of it is packed with straw. So cool. And it's a classic old building technique. And there's actually in West Hampton, I believe, the straw bale cafe. There is a building that is actually built with straw bales that you can have brunch in. That uses the old technology of this, but basically he's importing this from Eastern Europe, and it's insulated to passive house standards with straw. It's so cool.
Chris, we can't see it. It froze.
Oh no. Okay, everyone, go to buildwithnature.us, and you'll see that. It is just absolutely, it is very, very neat. Uh-oh.
All right.
Am I back?
You're back.
Okay, not sure what happened. I got too excited about straw and walls. Anyway, I don't know where I went off. Everyone, if you want to look at those really neat straw bale walls, check out buildwithnature.us. They're doing some really, really neat stuff.
Yeah, I put that in the chat. Chris, can you talk about what types of customizations are offered in general?
So we basically a lot of what we've done this far has been very custom, and the pre-designed floor plans that we have are all the result of working with homeowners to design a floor plan. So technically, all of our floor plans are custom floor plans that have just been optimized after we've walked through them. In terms of customizing, we're almost always going to be changing window positions to make sure they're getting the right views and the right sun. And then we haven't rolled this out yet, but we are working on basically different levels of customization, where there will be on one end a DIY shell where you could just get a shell. We'll drop it on a foundation, waterproof it, and then you could do whatever you want with it, to delivering, say, hey, I want that house that you just built in Florence, exactly as you have it, except give me white cabinets, a fancy backsplash, and granite countertops. So changing the finishings to another level where we're moving walls around and we're making bedrooms bigger. We're making bathrooms more or less accessible. We're adding storage space, and then going all the way to something that is very, very custom, where you start from scratch or you bring us your own plan. So we're doing it in tiers. So, and we'll be rolling out different price levels depending on how much design work goes into what you're looking to do.
Can you comment on outgassing air quality of these homes considering vinyl plank and engineered wood cabinets?
So the floors are all certified as not off-gassing excessively. Shaw and Dura is the floor product is certified for that. Not low VOC paint. Off the top of my head, I don't know what the rating is on the cabinets, but I couldn't give you an exact number of what the off-gas rating is. But if that's something of concern, we can certainly focus on that and be focusing on the building materials. I know we've talked to a few people who have microchemical sensitivities, who are very concerned with off-gassing and VOCs. We haven't started a project with them yet, but when we do, we're going to learn a whole lot about that area.
Can you do a full height basement?
You absolutely can. The key with doing a full basement is figuring out where to add stairs, because stairs take up a lot of room in these small homes. But we can do a full basement.
Is there a certain amount of land needed per square foot of house?
So the requirements for these are different per town, but there is not usually, so specifically for accessory dwelling units, accessory apartments, supplemental apartments, whatever the term might be in the town, they're bypassing typical density requirements. So you're referring to like square feet per unit. That doesn't apply to these. Generally, the square foot is tied to the size of the main house. So often you'll see a bylaw say that the accessory dwelling unit cannot be any larger than 1/3 the size of the main house. So the main house is 2,400 square feet. And the rule is that the ADU has to be 30% of that, has to be 30% or smaller. You could go up to 800 square feet. Now, because we're in Florence, which is under the Northampton jurisdiction for zoning, they don't have that proportional piece. It's just a straight 900 square feet or less, which is really neat.
Do you offer single family homes if you don't already own a backyard? And how does that affect pricing?
We do, and we haven't done any standalone homes in the Pioneer Valley yet. We've done 2 in Maine, and we've got 2 more in Maine that are being delivered. The components are being delivered in May, and we are doing our first standalone home in Western Mass in Williamstown, and it's a really neat home because it's a small home and an ADU. So we're doing the whole multi-generational thing all at once. So we're really excited about that project, and we're excited to do more of those. In terms of how does it affect the price, there's a lot more uncertainty when it comes to raw land. The big things that impact the price are well and septic. That generally adds 20 to 30,000 to the numbers that you would see on our website for the pre-designed homes. But depending on, we can try to do our same process for evaluating the construction on raw land and trying to get to a fixed construction price before you move forward. And that's really the thing that's very important when you embark on any new construction project, is you've got to make sure that the price is reasonably fixed and you know what could impact it up or down, because everyone has horror stories of needing to come up with 30 grand to finish their house. And that's why people don't build new houses, because it's terrifying, and it is for good reason. But we do the same thing that we do in a backyard. We fully evaluate the piece of raw land, and we can generally get to a fixed construction price before we start. And the only exception, especially if you're looking up in the hill towns, is what happens when you start digging, finding ledge, not being able to put a septic all the way in. At least we haven't found a way that you can find underground hidden ledge yet.
Is it tricky to connect with town water and sewer connections?
Not usually. It's usually pretty straightforward. We generally are going to connect those in an existing basement. Sometimes with the sewer, we'll connect to the sewer pipe outside. We won't go into the basement because it could be easier to connect in the front yard or the side yard. Things that can make it complicated, the position of your sewer pipe in your basement might make it difficult for us to get to. It gets complicated dodging things in a basement with a 4-inch pipe, but it's generally doable. Grade changes. So how high is the house relative to the existing house is a big one. If we're downhill from the house, we're probably going to have to use a septic pump to move sewage back up. And then with water, water is relatively easy to figure out. If you have a copper service line coming into your house or PEX, you're pretty much going to be good to go to add on to it. But a lot of older homes are going to still have a galvanized pipe coming in, which is probably going to be corroded on the inside and probably need to be replaced to make sure that the new house and the existing house have enough pressure.
A question right along the same lines is, can you usually tie into existing septic systems of the main house, specifically if a 2-bedroom main house has a system designed for 5 bedrooms? Can you add a 2-bedroom ADU?
One more. So 5-bedroom septic.
So, yes, a 5-bedroom septic for a 2-bedroom main house, adding a 2-bedroom ADU.
So I'm trying to think of the exact situation that you're describing, but I'll kind of lay out the way that it works. So your septic systems are designed based on number of bedrooms. Every bedroom assumes another occupant and a daily flow of water into the septic system, and the leach field is designed to release a certain amount of gallons of water per day into the soil. So tying into a septic system, we're going to need, and I'm going to kind of asterisk this, where if we're in Massachusetts, we are going to need specific approval from a health board, and often really anywhere we're going to possibly need that approval from a health board, but there's a few more hoops to jump through with Title V in Mass. But you need to have the number of bedrooms between the ADU and the house that the septic was designed for. And every town's health board is a little bit different on how they're going to allow you to achieve that. We have had towns allow us to convert a bedroom. So that's very possible. And converting a bedroom could mean getting rid of a closet and turning it into a work from home office. It could mean taking out a wall. And that obviously is going to be the easiest way to give you an extra bedroom to create an ADU. Worst case scenario, you've got to expand the septic, which you could get away with just expanding the leach field, or possibly have to redo it. But redoing is probably on the rarer side and would be applicable to like pre-1990 systems, older systems.
We have a question. What does ADU stand for?
Accessory dwelling unit. And some towns it stands for additional dwelling unit and extra dwelling unit. It's accessory dwelling unit for all intents and purposes, ADU, and it's a term that is very widely used on the West Coast and becoming increasingly popular in towns on the East Coast. But one point of caution, if you are talking to your town about doing this, make sure you use the right terminology. Because if you go to your town and talk about an accessory dwelling unit and they call them supplemental apartments, they'll play dumb with you and pretend they don't know what you're talking about. And I'm not even kidding when I say that. It has happened to us on multiple occasions. They just didn't want to talk. Towns are very, very town specific. They really don't. And again, there's some exceptions here. Northampton is one of them. East Hampton's Plain Apartments, another one. There are exceptions, but a lot of towns just don't care what's going on in other towns. They don't they may not. They just don't care. So you have to talk about what your town calls these things, what your town's rules are, and they don't care if it's done this way in another town, even if it's right next door. They only care about the way it's been done in your town today and for the past 20 years. But I didn't mean to be gloomy. There's a lot of towns that are really positive about these, especially in the Pioneer Valley, Western Mass, Greater Portland, Maine. There's a lot of towns that really like them.
We have a question. Once life becomes easier in terms of social distancing, do you have a showroom / house that can be visited?
We do, and it was really unfortunate. As we started building these, it was our intention to basically host events in them with the homeowners on occasion. I don't know when we're going to be able to do that. It's probably not this year. So it's a long ways off being able to. We do have Matterport photography of all of these, so you can get close to the real thing. But not a full touch and feel. We do have 2 houses in Brunswick, Maine. I know that's a bit of a hike for anyone that lives in the Pioneer Valley, but those are open and they can be shown. So when it gets warm and you want to come up to the beaches and go to Portland and eat lobster or whatever people like to do when they come up to Maine, you can stop by Brunswick and check them out. And the ones up there are a smaller version of this house from our L-line design path, and our 1.5 story, which is from our Demona design path.
We have a question. Can you put a wall hanging over the light switcher? I think they mean the electrical box.
A wall over the...
A wall hanging.
What was it? Read.
Can you put a wall hanging over the light switcher? I think meaning the electrical box. It's exposed in the hallway.
Let's go look. A wall.
A wall hanging, something to cover it.
Like this thing?
I think so.
So we put a cabinet door over the electrical panel.
Okay.
So you don't have to look at the panel. Wall hanging over the light fixture.
They're just thinking about something to keep it covered, I think.
Okay. Well, the electrical panel is.
Okay.
And I think if that wasn't the intent of the question, if there's certain things that you wouldn't want to look at, we can certainly try to hide it away. We've had that comment on washer and dryer. Some people don't care to look at their washer and dryer and they'd rather get the space back. And some people want to make sure that you can close the door on it.
Another one is, how easy is it to replace the hot water heater if it breaks? How would you do that? Is it accessible from the outside?
It's not accessible from the outside, but you can get it in and out of the hatch door.
Okay.
So you can pull it in and out.
Another question. Could you explain why the crawl space is only 4 feet? Is there a way that it could be increased to be usable as storage space?
So it's just cost efficiency. We're actually transitioning to, for our standard foundation system, a frost protected shallow foundation wall, which is only 18 inches, which is not really usable space, but it is still enough space to access utilities. But it just comes down to cost and where you want to allocate budget. If you go much more than the 4 feet, like if you go to 6, if you go to 7, you might as well make a basement. But as you get further down, you're going to have to add a ladder. You may have to add stairs. And as it looks more and more like potential living area or commonly used storage, it's going to trigger other things when it comes to building code and life safety, like sealing off the Nudura foam block, or adding. Well, there's a smoke detector down there. There has to be a smoke detector down there, but there's different things that come into play as it gets closer to living space. But it can be done.
All right. And the last question I'm seeing here is, are you able to talk about the possible community of smaller houses that you're currently exploring in terms of development?
Good question. There's not a whole lot to talk about it because it is early. We were specifically a little bit cagey about where it is because we don't have it yet, but it's a mile from both Northampton and Florence downtowns, which, at least with my legs, it's walkable, definitely cyclable. It's either 1.5 acres or 3 acres, depending what we do. There's potentially great views. One version of it would have 10 to 15 of these small homes. Another version of it would have 30. And what we're trying to do right now is we're trying to avoid being a true real estate developer, where we go in and buy the land, take on all of the risk of developing it, and put in hundreds of hours of trying to get it approved and not have it happen. So we're trying to find an alternative way to do that, to find half of the people who want to live in this community, work with them on the design, work with them on getting it approved in Northampton, so we can price it more affordably and not have to price in speculation and risk and all of that, which is one thing that developers unfortunately need to do, which we don't really want to engage in, which is why we haven't just gone out and bought it yet. So if you're interested in that community, we do have just a really brief survey that we put up on the website. We'll send out a link as a follow-up so you have it. We are trying to gauge how much people can pay for housing. We're trying to gauge, can they get a mortgage for the housing? We're trying to gauge, can they get a down payment? And where are they moving from? Are they local? Are they trying to move here from New York City? So we're trying to hand those things out. We're trying to pull together a small group of people who want to make this happen. And if we can do that, we'll make it a summer project and try to get it approved. And it'll be a lot of fun. So yeah, we'll send out that link. Keep an eye out for it. And we'd really like to build it. We've been dying to do a little pocket neighborhood.
All right. I think that that's all of the questions. If there's anybody whose question I missed, throw your hand up and I'll look for it or put it in the chat or Q&A. And I think that's all.